Hey guys, how are you? I'm Dr. Deb, and welcome once again to my Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time presentation on different topics. And today we're going to talk about how you have the power to strengthen your relationship even when your spouse isn't on board. And it's going to take a little bit of time. So let's just kind of dive in. Oh, somebody dropped off. I don't know what happened. Okay. Well, anyway. All right. So let's just dive right in. But before I do, I just want to know if the sound is better or worse or the same as always. If you've done this before with me, because I just plugged in my microphone and hoping that's going to sound better. All right. So if you want to chat in, I'd love to hear that. The other thing I'd like to know is, please, I would really appreciate you chatting in because I don't like talking to myself. So if my sound is good and you can hear me and see me and all that, then let's go. Here's the thing. When a spouse is not on board, usually what's going to happen is that you get frustrated, especially when they answer you and respond to you in a way that you didn't expect. For example, let's say you say, maybe we should see a therapist. That's a reasonable thing to request, right? And they respond by getting upset with you because they feel criticized, like they did something wrong or there's something wrong with them. No one wants to feel like there's something wrong with them. No one wants to feel criticized. And so they'll respond by saying, well, maybe you need a therapist, And that could be true, but you don't like hearing it, and you certainly don't like hearing it the way they said it. So you end up becoming a little frustrated. Maybe you say, no, you do. And before you know it, you've got a fight on your hands. How many people have that response? Again, I would love to hear your chat in. And by the way, I don't think the chat is the same as comments. Somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but if you chat, I don't think it shows in comments later on when this becomes published, because I haven't seen the comments include the chat so far. I've been doing this on YouTube now for about 2 months, something like that, and a little bit less maybe. No, actually about 3 months. Yeah. So I think you're safe if you want to keep your anonymity, but I'm not 100% sure. But how many of you get frustrated? How many of you start to feel like, oh my God, I'm ready to explode? That is the problem. You've got to take care of yourself. And you will never take care of yourself by trying to change your behavior. You will never take care of yourself by telling yourself, oh man, I screwed up again. Don't do that to yourself, because it's not going to work to change. If your reactions are perfectly normal because you're a person and you have feelings, then you're not going to be able to help yourself by telling yourself, don't react that way. Okay? So that is the reason why so many times when there's different programs and tons of advice out there on the internet of what to do, they're always going to tell you to change your behavior, and that's never going to work. And I have no idea why they keep doing it. I guess for some people, they white knuckle it. Behaviorists and cognitive behaviorists believe that if you white knuckle it long enough, your attitude will change because you're used to doing it a different way. So that's where the 12-step programs get their walk the walk and talk the talk. In other words, keep doing it until you're comfortable. I don't agree that that's a good system. I don't think that that's going to work, because until you get comfortable, you're very uncomfortable, which will make it much less likely that you'll ever get comfortable. And that's especially true when you have emotions involved. So what should you do? And here's the answer. And this is going to be a little hard. This is not a 1, 2, 3 deal, but take your time with it because it works. When you're confronted with a situation in which you're trying to speak to your spouse and it's not working, stop. Even if you're in the middle of a conversation, you can look like you're attentive, but your conversation has to turn inward. Question number 1 that you have to ask yourself: how do I feel? How do I feel right now? Do I feel picked on? Do I feel taken by surprise, blindsided? Do I feel frustrated? Do I feel scared? Do I feel sad? Do I feel anxious? How do I feel? Why do you ask yourself that question? What's the point of it? Aren't you trying to make a point with your spouse? Well, yeah, you're trying to make a point with your spouse, but you're not doing it well when you're upset. So the first person that you need to take care of and help is yourself. And you'll never ever do that by blaming yourself, being mad at yourself, criticizing yourself for not doing it right. Okay? So the first thing you have to do is feel good. When you know how bad you feel, then you have to work on feeling good. You have to do anything and everything you possibly can to change your literal mood, not your behavior, your mood. So instead of saying to yourself, oh, I screwed up, the next thing you should say to yourself once you got that horse out of the barn is, well, could I have done better? Did I realize this was going to happen? No, I didn't. I was taken by surprise. Okay, then you're forgiven. You're human. You can make mistakes. It's okay, right? So that is the reason why you have to have that conversation with yourself to start calming yourself down and feeling okay. All right, so I handled it pretty well, maybe a 6 out of 10. And I want to calm myself down and tell myself that I'm a perfectly capable person and I did a good job given the fact that I'm not very experienced at this. And then you go into the next conversation feeling a little bit better about yourself. Now, what if you're anxious? Well, the antidote to that is slow, quiet, deep breathing. You can take a yoga class, and if you do yoga every morning, it will help. Over time, meditation will actually change your brain waves. It will slow you down because the message from your brain will go into your bloodstream and end up changing the chemistry of your body. The breathing will change the chemistry of your body, and I've got that on other videos, so we're not going to do that today. If you ever want to go to other videos, you can go to my website, and I have a video library there. But let's go back to this, and you can email me about more questions on that. So let's say you're depressed and feeling hopeless because the marriage sucks and you can't make headway. Well, it's normal to feel a little bit sucky and tell yourself, it's okay. I love you anyway, to yourself, and you're doing great. In other words, every single thing that you do in terms of handling the marriage must begin with handling your own feelings, not your behavior. Because you will make mistakes. It's guaranteed you will make mistakes until you get used to handling your own feelings in a loving, kind way. I want to stop here and ask if anyone needs clarification or has objections and doesn't have a clue how to go about doing this or anything. Because I really don't want to go ahead until I know how you feel. So please do chat in with me if you possibly can. You know, when I give a moment to chat for people to chat, I always think, well, they're not chatting, but I do need to give enough time for people to reach the part of their phone that chats. All right. I don't know if I'm making sense or not because no one is. Oh, there you go. Oh, thank you. Okay, makes sense so far. So, whatever your emotions are, you have to realize what they are and work to calm them down, make yourself feel good. Even if you lose it and you explode, you're human, okay? You're human. You have to be able to do that. Now, I want to give you one example before I go on to the second piece, because it's a two-piece thing. I have a client who was telling me that her husband will get angry at her, and so she doesn't tell him everything. She doesn't explain the whole story when she and he are talking about whatever it is they're doing. And I said, so what's going on? She said, well, I kind of withhold information. I said to her, oh, well, let me ask you a question on that. When you finish your story with the missing information not in there, what happens? She said, well, he gets angry because it doesn't make sense to him, which makes sense to me that it doesn't make sense because I've left out information. I'm like, well, okay, but if he's going to get angry with the holes in the story, because it doesn't make sense to him anyway, then what is the gain and value of withholding information for him to not get angry? And she gave that some thought, and she said, you're right. You're absolutely right. I don't know. I never thought about it. I guess it's automatic. By the way, this is a very normal reaction too. I haven't mentioned it before. I mentioned getting angry, frustrated, depressed, anxious, but this is another one. It's very normal. And I said to her, it's automatic. Okay, well, I'm glad we're talking about it, so maybe now you'll be thinking about it. And she left. Well, this was a private client. And I got a text message later thanking me because she didn't realize she was doing this. It was so unconscious. So that opens the door for her to check on her feelings. Do I have a reason to be scared of his reaction when I know he's going to react anyway, whatever I do? If I tell him the whole story, I tell him half the story, whatever it is, he's going to react. So what's to be scared of? It's like the same thing. She could say, I don't want to talk to you. And by the way, I counseled her that she should be upfront and say, I don't want to talk to you because you're going to get mad at me. Whether I tell you the whole story, I leave half of it out, whatever I say, you're going to get mad at me. I don't want to talk to you unless you're not going to get mad at me, and then if he gets mad, she could go, wait a minute, you promised. See what I mean? You can have that. You can have that. I don't want you to get mad at me. I don't want to be yelled at. She said he doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't get mad like that. It still doesn't feel good, right? It just doesn't feel good to have a conflict. Conflict doesn't feel good. So that's one example. You check your own feelings. And years ago, before there was such a thing as emojis, I created an emojis chart. And it's actually a big, huge, sitting on the floor kind of poster. But I made a small version with just so many different feelings, and I labeled the feelings so that you can see, what they are. And if anybody on the call or later on if anybody watching this would like my emojis charts, you can put it in the comments with your email and I will send it to you. I always read all my comments, always. Not necessarily the same day as you write it, but I do get around to it because this is a really good way of tracking your feelings and seeing if you're feeling something that you didn't even know you were feeling, as in the case I just described. Now, that is step one. Once you know your feelings, of course, you have to soothe them. You have to be rational with your feelings. You have to be nice to your feelings. You have to be kindly to your feelings. Give yourself a break, in other words. You're human, okay? The irony is that the harder you are on yourself, the worse you'll perform anyway. So why be hard on yourself? The nicer you are to yourself, the more forgiving and kindly to yourself, the better you'll feel, which will affect how you react. It's as simple as that. Okay, that was part one. Part two, and this is very important. Every one of the feelings that you need to end up feeling is a good one. If you're feeling bad, you need to take care of it. And if you're feeling good, you're good. But there's a little caveat. A good feeling about taking revenge, for example, is not one of the good ones. It may feel good, but it's not on my list. A good feeling about not just taking revenge, but exploding and releasing all that pent up frustration that you have, and you're finally feeling like calmed down just from having exploded, that's not a good one either. So feeling good is not exactly the criterion that you're looking for. What you want is feeling good about how you feel when the feeling is in the category of what people who practice the way I do call self-energy. And for that, I have to spend a couple minutes talking about self-energy. Those of you who have been in my Facebook group probably know what I mean, but that's okay. It doesn't hurt repeating. Self-energy is a concept developed by a number of different therapists, but the one that has struck me as the most brilliant is Richard C. Schwartz, with a T, Schwartz. Interestingly enough, my maiden name was Schwartz, but it didn't have a T, and my father, when he was telling people how to spell it, would always say he was too poor to afford the T. Anyway, but we got past that. But my maiden name is still without a T, but his has the T. Now, and it's the middle initial is C, because there apparently is another Richard Schwartz that you can Google that's in a different field. Now, what he developed is called internal family systems, meaning you have a little family inside of you of a bunch of yous. There's the you that feels sad and the you that feels happy and the you that's angry, and all those feelings are carried by parts of yourself. And he created a list of all the kinds of feelings that self would normally have. For example, very well known are his 8 C's, but there's more feelings than that. But I'll just go through those quickly. There's courage, confidence, clarity, creativity, calm, feeling connected, feeling compassionate, and feeling confident. Did I say confident? Courage, confident? Maybe I did say it. I don't know. But there are 21 C's that I gleaned from reading everything he ever wrote, because I think he's great. And I created a sheet that I can also give you. Let's see, the C's are on there. Oh, curiosity. That was the one that I left out. Very important. So if you want the 8 C's and the other, so as to make 21, characteristics of self, let me know again in the comments or in the chat here and with your email, or you can just email me, right? DrDeb at DrDeb.com. That should be somewhere on the channel. So you can reach out to me and I will email that to you as well. But here's the thing. HC, yes, I will send you, great, yes. So here's the thing. When you have characteristics of self-energy, one amazing thing happens. You feel good. It feels good deep down. Why? Why does that work? Why do you feel good? The answer is you're connected to yourself. Finally, you're not hidden from who you really are. There's nothing better than feeling like you rather than feeling like, who am I? Did I just say that? You know what I mean? That's kind of a yucky feeling, that who am I? Did I just say that? Feeling is alien. But when you're in self energy, you feel like you. Why is that? Why do you feel like you? And this is what I love best about Dr. Schwartz's formulation, because it totally speaks to me as I see people. It says that we were born good. Even if later on in life we sinned, we were born good. We are good. And the fact that we were born good and we are good never changes. Our goodness, that's in us. That's our soul, if you want. He calls it yourself. And that goodness can get hidden. We can behave in a way that's not so good, right? We can react badly, like we said. That's human. But that's not who you really are. That's a part of who you really are. We call it a protector. That protector protects you as a child would protect you. It's not who you really are. We created these protectors because we really needed them. As we became older, we may still handle things with those protectors, but they were children when they came into our life, and their logic is kind of the logic of children. Just like this person who was withholding information from her husband. Well, she used to do that with her mother. It's something that starts in childhood and it just becomes a big habit. It's a protector. But it's not your authentic self. Your authentic self is these 21 amazing characteristics: wisdom, intuition, seeing the big picture, getting perspective on things, clarity, like I said, the 8 C's. So when you feel those feelings after having done part 1 and worked on yourself and given yourself a break, when you feel those feelings, you feel good because you're being your real authentic self. And here's the beauty. Here's the beauty. When you're in self energy, somebody can batter you verbally. If it's physical, you shouldn't be engaging at all. Really, you should not be engaging in a conversation if you're going to get hurt. You have to be in 2 separate residences until the other person learns. But if it's verbal, not that it's any better, it's no good, and you have a choice there. You can continue to stay. You can try to get the person to work on themselves, or you can leave, or they should leave. Those are choices. But if you want to talk to them and you're trying to strengthen the relationship, and they say something that's probably a mistake on their part because their protectors are leading instead of their self-energy, when that happens, you look at them and you say to yourself, wow, their protectors are leading. That's a shame. But within me, I feel good. I'm hopeful. I can do better. I feel better. I love myself. I love my life. And I'm just going to be there to see if I can facilitate moving things forward in the relationship. What that does, that totally different feeling that you have, becomes a safe container for your partner. Leading with self energy creates safety in the relationship. Now, you didn't start out trying to do that because what you wanted to do was feel good for yourself, right? And you do. When you're in self, even though you may have reacted a little bit not so self-like with a protector, they say if you're in 70% self, you're pretty good because you are human. When you are leading with self energy, you're trying to help yourself, but you're creating safety for everyone around you. When you attack them, when you lead with protectors who can be aggressive, you're not creating safety and you're not enhancing safety. You're just adding to the lack of it that the person you're talking to started. So you don't want to go there. So even though you're creating safety for them, that's not your goal, but it happens. It's a byproduct. Isn't that great? It's a byproduct. And so what you really want to do is create more opportunities for them to feel safe around you. And the more you practice being your authentic self in self energy, feeling the feeling, not acting like it, but truly feeling yourself in self energy, the more you do, even though you are confronting someone who's covered with their protectors going like that, you'll be okay. You will be fine. You will be safe. You will feel safe and you will create safety for them as well as you. What happens when you create safety for them? They let a little bit of their guard down, don't they? They can talk to you a little bit more like themselves because they feel safe. And that is how you turn a vicious cycle into a very healthful cycle. Because now a cycle starts up of creating a little more safety, which then creates a little more safety. The more they can let their guard down and be their authentic self, the more you can talk and share. And my hope, very frankly, I'm going to put it right out there, no shame here. I want them to watch my videos too, including these lives. I want them to go to my channel. It's simply at DrDeb Empowers and watch all the videos there. You too. So that they start to feel good about themselves. Because the more each of you feels good about who you are, deep down, who you really are, the better you're going to treat each other. You see, that's how it works. When you lead with protectors, it doesn't improve anything. And you're doing it because you don't feel safe. The more you feel good about who you are, the more you get into the feelings of self, the more your protectors are not needed. In fact, when you feel yourself starting to get angry or reacting badly, you just talk to them. Like I said, take a minute in the conversation inside and say to your protectors, hold on, let me handle this. I love you. You're trying to help me. Let me handle this. It's not easy to do that. You won't succeed the first time, I guarantee it. So what? Try it again and again. Eventually, it will work. If you want to strengthen the relationship, if you want to do your part, because it's for you, it's for your health, your mental health, your benefit. Does anyone have questions? I'd love to hear them. I know it takes a few moments to type out something. I'm looking at the chat. Or if you just want to tell me it worked, it sounds like you can do it, whatever, like to hear where you're at. Okay. All right, you'll give it a try. Yeah, that's all you can do. But don't give up. Like I said, give it a lot of tries. Give it 10 tries. How's that? Just work on your feelings first. Remember, self-care is where it starts. Loving who you are. That's where it starts. Okay? Be sure you got that part. And then the rest follows suit. And let me tell you something, 10 tries may not be enough. For some people, it could be a year of trying. Who knows? For some people, it could be more. I'm not saying you should bang your head against a stone wall. If you need help, that's what I'm here for, right? A lot of people do need that. They need to hear the feedback to know how they're doing from an outsider's perspective. They need a little bit of hand holding. It's okay too. In any case, yeah, give it a bunch of tries. Great talking to all of you.